Yo, what's up guys, and welcome back to a new video. Today we are going in depth on Season 4 Fury Warrior with the tier sets, how to play it, the M+ rotation, all you need to know to become a professional Fury Warrior in Season 4. Now, before we get started, these videos take me quite a while to make, so if you like the video, make sure to subscribe and leave a like and leave a comment down below. And without further ado, let's get straight into it. Now, first of all, we need to take a look at what it is our tier set actually does in Season 4. In Season 4, we are getting the Season 2 tier set back. And that means that for our 2 set, our rampage damage and critical strike chance is increased by 12%. Just a nice little aura buff pretty much to our rampage, and it will significantly impact our damage. For the 4 set, we see Rampage causing our next Bloodthirst to have a 12% increased critical strike chance, deal 30% increased damage, and generate 2 additional rage, stacking up to 10 times. That means that every time we use a Rampage, we are going to get 30% more damage on our Bloodthirst and 12% critical strike chance. This is very useful information since we are going to make sure that we always have a guaranteed crit on our Bloodthirst later on. We will get into that when we go over the rotation, but for now let's take a dive into the talents. Looking at our talent tree, a lot has changed since Season 3. Now, the most significant change is that we are not playing Annihilator anymore and Odin's Fury. We used to play these talents in Season 3, but we are going back to Ravager and Onslaught. Combining that with, instead of playing Reckless Abandon, we are going back to Anger Management. That means that we pretty much will always have our Recklessness and Ravager available in combination with Uproar, meaning that we have a 1 minute cooldown on our Thunderous Roar, makes us AoE machines. The only downside in this build is that we are no longer able to conveniently go into Shockwave, losing us 1 big AoE stun. The only way we could do this is getting rid of Uproar, but this will net you quite a big DPS loss. We still do play with Intimidating Shout and Stormbolt, so we do still have some form of utility in our kit. However, it is not as much as it used to be. Now, on the right side of the tree, we can see that we pretty much talented out of all of the Bloodthirst enhancing talents on the left, and we instead went into Slaughtering Strikes, Hack and Slash, and Rev and Fury. Now, these talents should already be quite known with you if you have already played in Season 2. If not, it basically just buffs up your Raging Blow instead of it buffing up your Bloodthirst. Since we are not going to use Bloodthirst as much as we were in Season 3, that means that we are mostly gonna be spending our time using Rampages and Raging Blow. Now diving into the raiding side of things, we see that we dropped Thunderous Roar, Uproar, and Thunderous Words, and instead opted into Cruel Strikes, Champion's Spear, and Champion's Might. These do a little bit more single target damage than the Thunderous Roar, and that means that we're gonna be spending a lot of time doing as much damage as possible inside of our spear window. On the right side of the tree, we don't see too many differences. The only thing that has changed is that we opted out of Improved Whirlwind and Meat Cleaver and instead went into Ashen Juggernaut and Massacre to boost up that execute window. Now that we've covered the talents, let's dive straight into the rotation. Alright, let's start off with the AoE rotation. The first thing that you want to do when going into a pack is throw down your Ravager and use Recklessness into a charge. While you are charging, you want to use a Whirlwind so you get that first hit in on the mobs, instantly giving you those 4 stacks of Meat Cleaver. Whenever you engage the pack, the first global you want to use is an Onslaught followed by your Avatar and your Thunderous Roar. After we have done that rotation, it pretty much only revolves around using Rampages, using Onslaught on cooldown, and maintaining your Whirlwind stacks. Now, to give you a little bit of an idea how that looks like in a real scenario, we charge in, we get our Enrage up, we use our big cooldowns, and then it's basically all up to spamming Rampage, Raging Blow, and maintaining that buff. Now the only difference is that we are stacking up that Bloodthirst hit while we are using Rampages. So I will leave a link to this weakaura down below, so you can also track how much % crit chance you have on your Bloodthirst, and whenever this hits 100%, you want to use a Bloodthirst for that big juicy hit. For the usage of our legendary, it becomes a little bit more complicated. Since we are playing with Anger Management, we pretty much always have Recklessness running. So whenever you are out of your avatar window, it can be a good time to use your legendary. Preferably you want to use it outside of Recklessness and outside of Avatar. As long as you don't have Avatar running, it is a net gain. Now moving on to the raiding rotation. For your raid rotation, it pretty much works exactly the same as the AoE rotation, with the only difference being that you do not use Whirlwind. So you once again use your Ravager, charge in, and you instantly use Onslaught. After you have gotten your Enrage from your Onslaught, you can use your Avatar and your Champion Spear, followed up by as many Rampages as humanly possible. Since you do not use Whirlwind to fill up, the only fillers that you will be using are Raging Blow, and you just send Onslaught on cooldown. Now, to show you a little bit how it looks like, we charge in, we get our Enrage, and we just send everything in once and just keep spamming Rampages. Now, once again though, you see the Bloodthirst is stacking up, and once that reaches 100%, you want to be using that Bloodthirst button. The only difference is that in Execute single target, we will use Executes over Raging Blows whenever they are up, to stack up that Ashen Juggernaut to get bigger Execute damage in, while also gaining a lot of rage to still be able to use as many Rampages as possible. For the priority in Execute, that means that you will be using your Rampage on cooldown, Onslaught as your first priority filler, Bloodthirst whenever you reach that 100%, Execute into Raging Blow being your bottom priority. Moving on to the stat weight. For this season, we will be using pretty much similar stats as we have already been using in the previous seasons, where you want to stack up as much mastery as possible to around that 60-70% mark, have around 30% crit and haste, and dump the rest into versatility. For the embellishments, there are multiple good options. If you are a main raider, you primarily want to focus on either the allied risk cards of companionship or double Shadow Flame patch. Now, if you're more interested in the AoE side of things, being an M+ player, you most likely want to be going for that Lariat and Frostfire legs of preparation, since they will give you a nice little boost in that AoE window that will just massively impact your DPS. Now, if you want to have a good mix match between the two, I would advise you to either use allied wrist guards in combination with Frostfire legs or an Elemental Lariat, or a Shadow Flame patch in combination with an Elemental Lariat or Frostfire legs. Some important things to note for the coming season is that we will be getting an upgrade token for our legendary. That means that if you have already obtained the legendary in the previous season, that you can now upgrade it to the current season item level, and you will be able to upgrade it with crests and flight stones. Now, for the secondary weapon, you most likely want to be aiming to get yourself that Ashkander as soon as possible, since it gives you some nice bonus damage, and that will give us two enormously strong weapons to work with this season. Unlike my last video, I will not go too deep into what is the best gear for you to wear this season, because we're very early on still, and we're most likely gonna see some changes coming along. Now, my best advice would be to just always sim your character and keep an eye out on Blood Mallet, what they say are the best simming trinkets at the moment. Now, I tried to keep things a little bit speedy in this guide, since we have already seen everything in Season 2, and like I said, it takes me quite a while to make these videos, so if you like the video, make sure to go down to the comment section and leave a like and comment, and also consider subscribing, and I hope to see you guys in the next one.